Concerns? Not hearing any. We'll go on to the chairman's report of the approved travel. Reports attached. Meetings going on. The next item is the approval of the compensation for board member assistants. Would my colleague like to make a motion on that item?
I'll move the item.
I'll second. You go ahead and take a roll call vote on that? Or?
Well, we don't have a quorum, so.
Why do you guys stop me?
Sorry.
So, it's only, the board is of 4, right? Or it was 5? We need 3. We need 3. Okay. And Judith is out, right? So we don't have a quorum. We'll just go through the items that so we'll have to wait for that item to go to the next meeting?
Yeah, or I guess it could go to the board.
Okay, I think that'd be fine.
Yeah.
We'll move it on to the board.
Item number 3.
Oh, there's nothing there for that.
Oh, there isn't?
This month.
Well,
The compensation?
There's the bigger piece that's coming up that talks about the dollar amounts for each board member. This is for if there's a new board member or a new board consultant this month only.
Got it. All right. So item number 4, there's none, right? All right, we'll go into the item number 5, the GIS project status update.
Thank you, Vice Chairman White. So this, Robert, can you put the presentation up? Okay. So this item is an item actually that the Vice Chair, I think, spearheaded back about 8 or 9 months ago, I think last summer, regarding the GIS capabilities of the district. And so under goal 3 of the goals and priority objectives, there was a priority objective specifically related to this, again, at the request of the Vice Chair. There was an RFP released back in July in the summertime, and then there was a contract executed in the fall. There were a few issues with the contractor just with changing over staff. This was projected to be done in the December-January timeframe, so pushed off because of the project staff at the contractor level. But the contract included a current GIS assessment, an eGIS system design, and then an implementation plan for that design. So the current assessment, a lot of this stuff is probably pretty obvious, right? Somebody's just telling you what it is you already know about yourself. And so SCAQMD has been a long time user of GIS technology back into the 90s, but not in a centralized fashion. It's been sort of done piecemeal over that time frame. So there's multiple web-based mapping platforms that have been used. The deployment and the management is decentralized. So if planning was going to do some GIS mapping, they bought licenses and did some things. If compliance was going to do some things, they did it in a decentralized fashion over this time frame. So if we jump into that's really the assessment that came out of, that's really the gist of the assessment is those things which we generally knew already. So the next thing we asked the contractor to do was system design analysis. And so the system design that they recommended is Esri software, which shouldn't come to a surprise to anybody. These are market leaders. They happen to actually be located within the district, which is impressive. There's long-term viability. They've got significant investment in this product, and it doesn't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon. So they've recommended design concepts where we use an ArcGIS server in combination with ArcGIS Online. So it's sort of a hybrid system where it's using internal cloud and external cloud. And this is their best practices. That's what SOMAS, the contractor, recommended, and Esri also agrees with that as well, and so does our staff. This is a design chart here. When Chris showed it to me the first time was as the NCAA bracket was going through. I was trying to find North Carolina, and then I realized it was the GIS system. So this is a little bit difficult to understand, I think, unless you're on the technical side of things. But
made perfect sense to me. So.
Okay, so I'll scoot on from there. So if we jump to the implementation plan, so the third part of it was, okay, you've done an assessment of where we're at. You've come up with a design, and we need an implementation plan to put all these things into play. And so they've come up with an implementation plan that we're looking at about 18 months. It looks like it'd normally be a 2 to 3 year implementation, so we're a little bit aggressive on the plan. When we say Q1, Q2, this would be starting July 1st. Some of these things we have already concurrently started working on, and we'll touch on that a little bit. But the cost looks like about $250,000 to $500,000. We believe we have existing monies in this year's budget, and we already have monies in next year's budget. We'll make sure there's money in the third year budget to move forward. And we'll come back, obviously, to the board through Wayne's weekly reports as we hit milestones. We'll make sure that we include those in there if he chooses to report to the board. There's the monthly report that IM now produces for the admin committee. And then if there's any additional purchases that would come to the board. So the board will continue to be made aware of what's going on. But there have been concurrent activities that have been going on. We haven't waited for somebody to come in and tell us what it is we're doing currently. We know that and what we need to do. So IM staff's been networking with Esri staff and user base. They've been going to user conferences, participating in training. We've actually done some work where we've already migrated some things to Esri products. So the air quality map, the forecast map, the check before you burn map, those have all been deployed under the Esri model, and now they're all mobile friendly, which they weren't before. So we've already improved some things without waiting for this report to occur.
It looks good. I noticed that today. It's
Okay.
much improved. Functionality is great. Good job.
Thanks. So to continue to migrate the existing layers into a new facility layer currently, we're doing centralized GIS support for programs that are ongoing right now. So there are already things that have been in play. The 1403 asbestos notification, replace your ride. We're making sure that this centralized GIS process is in play in things that we're doing right now, not just things that are going to be coming up into the future. So we're already implementing a lot of these things. Develop centralized mapping portal for replacement of find application. We're working on that. The next steps basically are, so at this point we've done an assessment. We've seen where it is that I think the vice chair probably could have told us this maybe back in July or August, but we've got a thick set of reports that he wouldn't have wanted to produce.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll continue with
$100 a
concurrent
day
action.
would not cover that.
Okay. We'll begin the implementation plan. We'll report back to the board. In the May admin committee and in June board, we'll be already asking for some licensing and some additional equipment, and we'll report back regularly. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. I don't think I had any questions. Does my colleague have any questions? Any questions? No?
I don't.
All right. Very good. Just happy to see it moving forward, and keep it up. Any public comment? Don't want to talk about maps? Okay. All right. With that, it brings us to the May agenda items. And I haven't seen anything in there we need to pull up or go over. My colleague have any questions or concerns about the May agenda items?
Not here.
All right. And any other business of the board?
Mr. Chairman, we typically go through the items that don't go to any other committee, which are
Okay, which ones are those?
items 6 through 12.
All right.
And so,
I missed that.
just to add, since we don't have a quorum this morning, what normally happens in that event is the committee will still vote, then the clerk will, let's just assume the two members are in favor, the committee chair, the committee secretary will record that, and it will be reported on the item as the committee members present communicated their concurrence, as opposed to being a formal recommendation which requires a full 3 board members.
Gotcha. So which items do we need to vote on? Do we need to vote for item 5, or that's just an update?
I think that's a discussion.
Okay. So 6 through 12 we do need to vote on?
Not all of them, but I think the bulk of them. So 7, 8, 10, 11, and 12.
So the first item is 6. Do we have a presentation on that then?
Just a brief description. So we've got the report that we provide to the administrative committee. The item this month that we were going to highlight was we just spoke about. Just mentioned that when it comes to the website improvements, so next month we'll bring a demonstration of what the new website would look like. We'll bring that to the administrative committee. All the other projects are moving forward as expected, so I'd be happy to answer any questions on the report.
Okay. Any questions? Nope. All right, item 7.
This item is somewhat routine. This is where we've got budgeted monies. We're asking to allocate those monies to a couple different pre-qualified vendors to do system development work for various rural systems enhancements related to rules and for the EFMP program. So it's budgeted monies. The majority of this was already budgeted, and it's all going to vendors that come from a pre-qualified vendor list that the board previously approved. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Dr. Parker, do you have any questions? And if not, look for a motion on this item.
I'll move the item. I have no questions.
I'll second. I guess we need a roll call vote, right?
Vice Chair Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
All right. Item 8.
Thanks again, Vice Chair. This is an item that comes to the committee annually. Back 2 years ago, a calculation, an assignment of points methodology was developed to determine the appropriate level, appropriate financial level to be provided for each governing board member based on the assignments. So the number of committees, the type of committees, the leadership role, there's a whole matrix involved. What we have on attachment A is the result of that matrix. So what we do is determine the number of points for every governing board member, the chair, the vice chair, and also the board member who sit on CARB. By admin code will receive $118,872 for board consultant support. And then the points every other board member receives, we take as a percentage of that dollar amount. And there are not significant changes from board member to board member between the years. There's one adjustment that will be made between what you see here and what goes to the board, as Mayor McCallum has been appointed to the legislative committee, so his numbers will go up a little bit. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions? If not, we do need a motion on this.
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Vice Chair Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
All right. Item 9, report of RFPs.
Thanks again, Vice Chair. This just seeks approval to issue an RFP for insurance brokerage services. So this is for our property liability, excess workers' comp, cybercrime, auto insurance. Every 3 years, we seek brokerage services so that we make sure we get the best pricing on the actual insurance policies. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. No questions here. Dr. Parker, do you have any questions? I don't believe we need to vote on this one, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Without any questions, we'll move to item 10. The hydrogen sulfide events contract.
Good morning, Vice Chair Benoit and Dr. Parker. I'm Kevin Durkee, the Senior Meteorologist here at the district. This item is to execute a contract to provide real-time public alerts for the hydrogen sulfide events in the Coachella Valley primarily at this time. We have 2 monitors, one near the Salton Sea and one in the community of Mecca, a little farther away where most people live in that area. We would like to automate the process. We've been doing kind of a manual process of putting out these alerts, and frankly, we've had more than we expected. The Salton Sea puts out a lot of odors, 55 events last year alone.
Wow.
We have a process to do this utilizing the contractor that EPA uses for their AirNow system, so we can leverage some of that ability. Sonoma Technology is the contractor. We'd like to do a sole source at a cost of $33,000 for the initial year, $15,000 per year maintenance cost after that. And the system will be expandable, so if we decided we wanted to do other pollutants at a later date, we could easily add, for example, just off the top of my head, if we wanted to do something with community monitoring near the refineries or something, we could easily add that into this program. They're going to build it, that'll be expandable.
Great.
Any questions?
Any questions, Dr. Parker?
I have one question. Are these going to be real-time monitors? Are they real-time that
Yes.
we're communicating with them, or do we?
Yes, the monitors already exist. They are in real time. We get hourly data, and we've been using a threshold of 30 parts per billion as the trigger for alerts. That's the state standard.
when the monitors at,
Further question?
if they're at 30, is that is an event that you generally would see coming out of the Coachella Valley as well? I know there's been some events where the
Right,
plume has come all the way out of the Coachella Valley into the LA Basin, and that
So-
everyone gets a flavor of what I used to deal with when I came to all the time.
Exactly. As you're probably aware, 2012, we had a huge event that we had complaints all the way to the San Fernando Valley.
Right.
And we've had several smaller ones since then where we could at least get into Riverside County. So the current monitoring system doesn't cover all that distance,
Right.
but with the meteorological data and the information of what's coming from the Salton Sea, we do a pretty good job of seeing those coming. And they're usually associated with high wind events, usually like thunderstorms over Mexico with the monsoonal flows. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so the idea is to be able to put those alerts out broader if we need to.
That would still be a manual process, though.
Uh,
To do that
Yeah,
broader.
we always will retain the ability to do manual alerts on top of this, but this will provide more timely alerts.
Okay.
Because some of these happen at 4, 5, 6 in the morning.
Right.
So people that are interested in it can sign up, and they'll get this by text, by email, and by Twitter and possibly other social media feeds.
Right. I think my only last question is, that's a perfect time. Me as a meteorologist, I gotta say.
My wife found that.
All right, without any further questions, we need to vote on.
I have one last question.
Oh, go ahead, Dr.
How
Parker.
close is the,
This is my home?
you stated that this is near Mecca. How physically close to the Salton Sea is this?
Okay, so we have two H2S monitors currently. One of them is literally on the shore of the Salton Sea. It's at on the Torres Martinez reservation property. And then the second one is in the community of Mecca. I'd say that's 5 to 7 miles inland from the Salton Sea to the north. And that one is at Saul Martinez Elementary School, where we have other monitoring as well. And it's pretty interesting that we see a lot of hits on over the standard at the near shore site, but it doesn't always make it up. In fact, much fewer times it makes it up to Mecca.
So it's one of the hits both of them, and that's when it would trigger the event.
Yeah.
Very good. Are you having construction there, or?
That's why they moved the room. They told us this.
Paul just went out to see what in the world is going on. Maybe somebody's trying to get out of one of the rooms.
So I think we do need a vote.
Sure. We need a motion, so if you can talk over the hammering, go ahead.
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Vice Chair McKnight,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
All right, on to the next item. Item 11. Start ahead, Sam.
Good morning, Vice Chair Benoit and Dr. Parker. I'm Sam Atwood, the Media Officer. This item proposes the approval of 2 contracts for the upcoming Check Before You Burn season, which starts on November 1st. The first contract is a 12-month renewal with Westbound Communications for up to $246,000. The second contract is for $250,000 with Google for online advertising. We're recommending at this point that you defer action on the Google contract until probably next month, because we're still waiting to receive some complete campaign contribution information from Google. So at your discretion, if you'd like, I can proceed with the presentation on the westbound action item.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So just a very quick recap. Last spring, following the competitive bidding process, your board selected Westbound Communications as the contractor for outreach and advertising for this past Check Before You Burn season. It runs every year in November through the end of February. That contract was for $246,000. As you know, this past winter we had near record rainfall, which caused generally clean air quality and a almost record low number of no burn alerts. In fact, we had the lowest number of no burn alerts since 2012, 2013. So this affects our outreach efforts in this way. When we have a greater number of no burn alerts, we get more media coverage. It's newsworthy. Just as sometimes the odor events, in fact frequently, the odor events make the paper in the Desert Sun, we get local TV and newspaper radio coverage when we have no burn alerts. So conversely, this past year we had relatively few, and so that was a challenge to get media coverage and also error alert signups, because when you get more attention from the media, it's more likely that people will take the effort to sign up for error alerts. So error alert signups is an important metric that this committee and the board has identified. In spite of the fact that we had this rainy season, Westbound was able to increase the error alert signups by 92% this past season as compared to the prior year. On top of that, Westbound had a labor budget that was about 1/3 less that of the prior contractor that we had in place for 3 years. So based on the fact that the labor budget was smaller, the error alerts signups were larger, I think arguably Westbound had a more cost-effective work product than the predecessor. Westbound employed some innovative strategies last year. I'd like to highlight just 2 of them. One of them was, for the first time in the Check Before You Burn program history, Westbound hired a subcontractor to conduct research. So they conducted telephone survey research, as well as 2 focus groups, one in Riverside and one in the Los Angeles area. I attended one of them. And so that research went into shaping the messaging for the campaign, whether that was through earned media, through social media, through paid advertising. The second approach that had not been done before was to seek pledges at community events that were staffed by Westbound. So the pledges were separate from the error alert signups. And the pledge was basically a piece of paper where a homeowner, a resident who has a wood-burning fireplace said, "I pledge not to burn wood in my fireplace on days when AQMD has called a no-burn alert." So they collected 794 pledge forms. And the reason they did this is that social research has shown that if someone actually makes a pledge, makes a written pledge, with their friends watching perhaps, they're more likely to actually follow through on making that behavior change. So in summary, due to the successful performance of Westbound this past season, staff is recommending an extension of the contract with Westbound for 12 months in an amount not to exceed the $246,000. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Well, I was excited when Westbound came in and did their presentation. Remember that a year ago? It seemed like they had a great presentation. So, does my colleague have any questions about Westbound and postponing the Google contract?
I don't have any.
Okay. That'll take a motion.
I'll move the item.
I'll second. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, Cindy. All right. Item number 12.
This item is to approve additional funding for a contract with a refinery expert, Glenn Jenkins. We currently have a $50,000 contract with Mr. Jenkins that we entered into to have him assist with the hearing board matter. We're requesting an additional $120,000. That money will be used to complete the hearing board matter and also to secure Mr. Jenkins' assistance in connection with some refinery rulemakings including a proposed rulemaking regarding the use of hydrogen fluoride at refineries. That I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Dr.
I,
Parker?
in- I don't really have a question about the money. I have a question about the general overall. Why is it that we need to have, I'm gonna ask this general question, so don't assume that I'm totally unaware, but I want to hear the answer coming from staff. Why do we have to have an expert to tell us what it is that we should be doing relative to our rulemaking? From the standpoint of view of that's something that we control and we enforce these rules every day at these refineries. Why don't we have our own expert in-house?
It's a good question, Dr. Parker. One of the rules that he'll help us with is the proposed hydrogen fluoride rule. And you heard Mr. Jenkins at the town hall meeting down in Torrance a couple weekends ago. Just provide some information that we frankly were unaware of. It really wasn't widely known at all, and that's that there is a refinery that's transitioned away from hydrogen fluoride to other alkylation processes. And that kind of information is invaluable, given his experience, not just in the United States, but internationally. It's extremely difficult to replicate that kind of experience. And it's not totally out of the ordinary for us to seek assistance from outside experts when there's a particular issue that a rulemaking focuses on.
So, and then specifically in this particular situation, we're saying that we don't have the expertise with hydrofluoric acid. So therefore, we're having to seek that assistance from outside, since this is a unique issue with us.
I think where Mr. Jenkins really helps out is being able to stand up and say, I know the situation where the transitions occurred, and I have experience with that refinery.
I can add a little.
Thank you very much. That's, go ahead.
I started.
Sorry, is that the other aspect of it too in the rulemaking is that we have to do the CEQA analysis, and we have to understand the different types of pieces of equipment that need to be replaced and sort of those intricacies. So that's where a refinery expert that has seen and knows a facility that has gone through this, what specifically would need to be replaced, the types of metallurgy issues that are way a level of detail that we're not familiar with. That would be very helpful. So.
Good question.
I'll move the item.
Very good. I'll second. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
All right, now I see the review of governing board agenda items. Now I'm following along.
There we go.
So we have the review of the board agenda items, with 2 public hearings, it looks like. We need a vote on this then, or no? Okay. Dr. Parker, do you have any questions on the review of the governing board agenda, item 13?
No, I don't know.
All right, any other business? Okay, and then here, any public comments on items on the agenda?
I have one.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble, Dr. Burke's calling me.
Hi, good morning. I'm Bill Lamar, Executive Director of the California Small Business Alliance. And on the item for, agenda item for the next governing board meeting, I noticed that the set hearing for Rule 1147, I've been looking at this for so many years, I know. It seems that that what's being proposed by the staff is that for less than £1 a day, to defer compliance with applicable emission limits until the unit is replaced or the burner is replaced. For up until now, we were concerned over replaced, retrofitted, or relocated. Do I take this to mean that the staff is not considering retrofitted and relocated?
That's correct.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah, for the less than one.
For the less than £1 a day.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, that's what we had discussed at the public workshop and
Right.
at stationary and, yeah, put on the tech assessment.
Okay, I know in January, I guess it was, after my comments, there was some reconsideration over relocated. 'Cause
Right.
that was kind of an ambiguous term. But,
Yeah, we removed the word relocated.
and the retrofitted.
Right, so it's if they replace the burner or they replace the unit.
Right.
Right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Any other comments? All right. Hearing none, that moves us to,
Mr. Chair,
sure.
may I make a clarification, just if you don't mind? When we voted for the don't burn and the Google Matter,
Right.
that, even though I recognize we don't have a quorum, but we're sending it with our 2 votes. That was an approved item, because there was a question that I just received saying that someone was thinking that we would postpone that until at such time that we had gotten some paperwork from Google or whatever it may be.
Right, we're postponing the Google portion of that, was my understanding of what we're doing.
That's right.
Well, it's my understanding that the Google documents and stuff were received several days ago. Is that correct?
Dr. Parker,
Is Mr. Atwood still?
Yeah, and I can help out, here, Dr. Parker. We have been in communication with Google's lawyers, and they have provided us with some documents. There's more information that's needed though, and so we're continuing to talk with them.
So you're saying that you got some documents, but you don't have all the documents that you need. Is that correct?
It doesn't have all the information that we need. That's correct.
Doesn't? Okay, so, all right, okay. So it's not only to some that extent, it's that we are saying that in order to basically execute the contract, we need some additional documents that are not there. And the Google people have been advised of that?
Yes, yeah. And again, we're continuing we talked with them yesterday.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
No problem. All right, our next meeting will be Friday, May 12th. Thank you all.
Yeah.
What are you looking at?